like science.
I like science.
I like science.
Forward to this one too.
We're back again.
Science.
And we're front again. Sorry.
Yep. With our first delve into short treks. I mentioned last time that it'd be a good opportunity to talk about Discovery, but I think that's something we can save until we have a proper episode of Discovery.
Agree.
Because short treks is really its own thing.
It
even
is.
though, yeah, this
Even
is,
though they were all a product of Discovery.
yeah. And this doesn't have, I mean, the tardigrade, yes, and the dots, yes, but other than that, there's not many ties to Discovery.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's more original series related stuff.
Yeah.
And
For
so,
this particular one.
talking about our experience with Discovery doesn't quite gel, but we can talk about our experience with the short treks.
Yes.
And Kat's got the zoomies.
Oh, great. That's why I shut my door completely.
Mhm.
So he wasn't constantly running in here.
Yep.
But before that, I just found out yesterday that Sonequa Martin Green is going to be at FanX this fall, and I lost my shit.
Awesome.
So
That's
it'll be
very,
my-
very cool.
It'll be my first non-Jason Isaacs Discovery person. that I
Yeah, we
get
don't
to
get a whole
meet.
lot of Discovery here.
Well,
So,
the thing is that it's all about whether the series is still running. If the series is not still running, then they're not under contract to have only a set amount of appearances that they can make.
right.
Once they are out of that contract, they can make whatever appearances they want.
Indeed.
So that's why we never saw New Trek people when their series were still going on. It just didn't work that way. Jason Isaacs was a special case because he wasn't a regular character on Discovery.
Right.
So
he was
he
there
just-
for a few seasons and then
No,
left.
just one season.
Yeah.
Just one season. The first season.
I thought he was there for two, but I guess he was only there for the one.
Yep. Only there for the first season.
Right.
So, yeah. Anyway, I'm really excited about that because
I am
she is
too.
a
It'd be awesome.
queen.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, short treks. What did you think about the first time when you heard about there were going to be short treks? What did you think about that?
I like the idea. I like that it gives opportunities for like shorter stories. Because if you think of the movies as like a novel and the television series as like a novella, you can do little short stories, little vignettes with the short treks, and it gives opportunities for new directors, new writers, kind of tangents that you might not be able to fit inside a standard episode. You can run kind of a more character-based story, and you can play around with format and genre and kind of do an anthology. I'm thinking it's probably what they should have done with Section 31. Working around Michelle Yeoh's schedule is to make short treks when she's around and just do little vignettes of her experience with Section 31. It'd be kind of interesting. So yeah, I like the idea. I wish they had made more of them
Agree.
because it just seemed to be the 2 seasons, and then they tried to do that terrible shortest treks or whatever that thing was called.
We're not talking of those. We're
Yeah,
not speaking of those
We're not
ever
including,
again.
yeah,
Ever again.
yeah,
They shall not be mentioned ever again. They're not even on the spreadsheet
no,
because they are not worthy.
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. How about yourself?
I was very excited to see short treks. I think shorts are vastly underappreciated in general. And I think that they are a lot of fun and can also deliver a lot of information in a very short time. So
Yes.
I like shorts, and I liked the short treks, and especially they started out with Tilly, and I'm just like, okay, you won me over already because
Right.
Tilly's my girl, but I really enjoyed all of them, and the animated ones have been interesting. I think were there only the 2 that were animated, I think.
There's the one about the stars,
Yeah,
and then there's this one, Ephraim and Dot.
I think that's the
I'm
only
trying to
2 that are
remember
animated.
if there were any others. It doesn't seem like it.
I don't think there were any others that were animated.
And I wonder
But
if also it was kind of like a test for what they could do with Prodigy and then with Lower Decks.
hmm,
Though Titmouse already had its own animation studio going on, so
yeah, Lower
they
Decks
already
was
had
already
talented people there
yeah, Lower Decks
working
was
on it.
already a thing before the
Was it?
shorts happened.
Huh.
Because when let's see, I think the shorts started after, was it between season 1 and 2 or was it between season 2 and 3? I can't remember now.
Yeah,
But in any case, Lower Decks would have already been on the board
right,
because the animation alone would take a long time.
right.
So that was something that they were already planning on doing. And Prodigy would have had to have been in the works then as well.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it was an experiment in, making those two series come to life because they were already in production.
And you think they would have used them as kind of a launching pad if that was like a test, is like put it
Yeah.
out there, see if there's interest, and then go forward with the full thing
Yep.
rather than have its own independent story. I was thinking more of just, see how animation flies with the audience.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that we have already had Star Trek animation.
Oh yeah, with the
Granted, it's
originals.
very
Yeah,
old,
yeah.
but
And
it's not a stranger to animation.
it's beloved by some and not by others because, the animation for the animated series is a little on the cheap side, you would say.
Well,
And
that was the
so,
time period.
yeah, the time period.
I
So,
mean, it was 1973. What more do you want? This is
mm.
what all cartoons looked like in
Yeah, yeah,
1973.
yeah, still.
So yeah, that doesn't bother me because that was just the way it was then. Just like how
Right.
our technology has advanced, and so what we do now, while setting something in an era before TOS, and people lost their shit about that. And how can you possibly do this? And you can't make me believe that this is a prequel and all of this bullshit.
Yeah, I still struggle with Enterprise a bit, just how it's set before TOS.
Yeah, see, that doesn't
Yeah.
bother me. Does Discovery bother you in that way?
No, because it's like it's somewhat earlier. Enterprise has all kinds of issues though, and
Yeah,
I think we've addressed several of them already. So, that's its own thing. But
yeah,
yeah, it just kind of having all the series gel against the original is difficult because it was set so long ago,
yeah,
and the standards and what they had available was so different. And just even acting has changed over
yeah.
the course of time,
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, even like, how do I explain this in a way that will work? Like, okay, take Doctor Who, for
right?
example, that started in what, 1963?
Uh-huh.
And, the technology has progressed, and therefore the show has progressed in technology. And for the most part, you don't hear people bitching about that.
Hmm.
So it's one of those annoying things where I'm just like, why can't you just enjoy something?
Well, I have heard people talk about the flimsy walls in Doctor Who.
Yeah, but look at Doctor Who now.
Yeah. Oh, there's
See,
always people complaining about Doctor Who.
I know, but it's the thing about the technology is always improving, and so
Right.
the way we make television is changing. It's
Yeah.
it's constantly changing with the technology.
And you have
And
to
people use that
adjust
as
your,
a reason to be upset about it.
yeah, expectations along with that.
Yeah, it
Because you
just
don't want to
bugs
be
me.
slavish to what's come before and make everything look identical to what's come before.
That would be
Though
ridiculous.
what they're doing with Strange New Worlds and compared with the original series, there's, attempts to make them gel a little bit, just how things are colored and the lighting and stuff, but at the same time it's updated, so
Mhm.
it's an interesting take on how to do that.
Yeah, it shut a lot of those complainers up. Just like,
Oh
but
yeah,
it's the
there's
same, it's
yeah.
the same thing. It's the same thing. It's like they're using all of this new technology from today and they're making it look really pretty like it looks in the technology today, but you're okay with it because there's a white male at the helm again.
Uh, I suppose that's might be part of it is the white male, the patriarchy, and those fans that want a white man in charge. I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking more like just how the ship looks and how the corridors look and how the turbo lifts look and just, just the design, the art direction of Strange New Worlds when you compare it with the original series. There's some nods there that you don't get with, well, Enterprise takes place before, and it's basically like a submarine show.
Mhm.
It looks naval gray for a reason, and it's not, visually all that stimulating, but it's an experimental vessel in space, and so it still has these kind of ties to naval vessels. So yeah, you don't have the big bold colors that you get in the original series.
Yeah. Well, we can leave that where it is. Let's talk about
Yep.
Ephraim and Dot.
Well, as long as we're talking about the original series, yeah, there's a lot of ties to this, but yeah, opens with the documentary kind of presentation like you would see back in the day in school on,
Oh
just
yeah.
they'd break out the projector and put in a roll of film and the scratches and the hiss
Oh yeah. It
and
was
kind of the
very well
tinny
done.
voice. Yeah, about the tardigrade in space.
Yeah. It's I had forgotten that it was narrated by Kirk Thatcher.
Hmm. Yeah,
If y'all don't know
we've
who Kirk
seen that.
Thatcher is by now, you should know.
Yeah, we saw him at FanXy, Muppeteer, plus being the punk on the bus in Star Trek. Is it The Voyage Home?
Mm-hmm.
The one with the whales?
The one with the whales.
Yep, he's the punk on the bus. He even, uh, I think, wrote and performed the song that he's listening
Oh,
to on the bus,
yes, he absolutely did. Yeah.
which I just thought was odd because it's not really a punk song. It's more metal.
Yeah. It could go
Yeah,
either way
yeah, I suppose
for the
so.
time period. This is what,
Yeah.
1986?
It's just always funny when you see in a movie that punks are rocking out to something and it turns out that they're not listening to punk. It's like, what are
Yeah.
you doing?
Well, this is probably a licensing thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, the tardigrade. She is looking for a place to lay her eggs
Yep. Lands
because
on an
she
asteroid.
got special cargo.
Yep. And the documentarian is, the narrator's telling us needs someplace, warm to lay the eggs, and the eggs can last for years.
Mm-hmm. It'll take them
Um,
years to hatch.
yep. It's the odd thing is the size of this tardigrade. 'Cause tardigrades are actually very, very small, and
Yes,
this one
but
is not.
yeah, and neither was the one in season one of Discovery.
Yeah, but they blew it up. Like through weird science, they like, honey, I reverse shrunk the kids, like giantized the tardigrade. Because they're itty bitty, they like have microscope have to see them kind of small. And they increased the size of the tardigrade so they could hook it up to the mycelium network because a tiny one couldn't do that. And so you had to make it bigger to attach things to it, which is really kind of gross if you think about it.
Well, the
It's
whole
like,
enslavement of that tardigrade is something that really struck me with season one.
yeah,
And
well, when you realize that Lorca is the captain in charge of that ship, and there's things that they're doing specifically because of the war, the Klingon War,
mhm.
that, yeah, that they're doing things that Starfleet normally wouldn't do. But the whole thing about Starfleet is they wouldn't do that because Lorca's in charge. Things are happening that probably shouldn't.
I would say that you're right, except the Glen,
Yeah, well, the Glen was screwed up too, and I don't know why. I don't know
because they were
who the,
doing the same experiments.
yeah, and they paid the price for it too.
Yeah, they did. That's the whole thing. Is that it wasn't just a Lorca thing. It was
Yeah,
a Starfleet thing,
yep,
probably a Section 31 thing, but we never really
yeah,
get that
possibly.
confirmed.
Yeah, well, I think that's why they kept Captain Pike out of the war because they knew he was the best of them
Yeah.
and they didn't want to taint him. And so
Oh
it was
no.
like, keep the Enterprise pure, keep them out of the war.
Yeah, well that's the thing. It's like who's the one who actually says that? I think it's Admiral Cornwell who
Yeah.
actually tells him that. So it's not anything that's up for debate. She flat out tells him.
Yeah, that, you're the best of us. You represent the best of Starfleet, and so we couldn't, reduce you or taint you with the things we're doing in this war that are
Couldn't
not
risk them, period.
Starfleet. Yeah,
Because they
because
could
they
have
have to
gotten
survive.
destroyed just as easily as the next
Yeah.
person.
Yep. So Yeah, tardigrade's big for I'm not sure what reason. Maybe because she's in space, she can grow to a larger size. I don't know.
When she's not constrained by gravity, probably. And besides
Possibly.
that, who's to say that there aren't big versions of tardigrades in the mycelial network already?
Yeah, I
So,
don't know. It was
because,
a odd choice.
well, if you think we're going only, if you look at it like, okay, well, this is only what science says today, Star Trek takes that a step further.
Yeah, it's
So,
like encountering a giant hydra or a
yeah,
giant amoeba or something like that. It's similar.
yeah. So it doesn't really bother me
Yeah.
that this is a bigger tardigrade. But she is cute as a button, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I like the noises. I like the little chirrups and purrs. Um, yeah, tardigrades are fascinating because they can self-desiccate. They
Mm-hmm.
just press out all the moisture and become like a cyst
Mm-hmm.
and can survive in deep space that way, which is odd because she's in space and not a cyst and surviving, and that's not the way it works. So yeah, I have to kind of set aside the scientific understanding of tardigrades to like appreciate and just get on with this episode because yeah, the
I thought
reason tardigrades can survive in space is because they can desiccate.
are we sure about that?
Gee, we can look it up. I don't know.
Because
I
I
don't
feel
know if
like
we
they
want
can
to just
exist. I feel like they can
Google
exist in space without desiccating.
can well, I'll put water bears because I can't spell tardigrade. Can water bears survive in space
You're hearing it as it
without
happens, folks.
desiccating? Oh wow, you are correct.
Thank you.
Yes, tardigrades are also known as water bears, can survive in space without desiccating. They are among the most radiation tolerant and desiccation tolerant animals. Oh, this is AI overview. I don't trust the fuck out of that. Let me go to something that isn't fucking AI. Goddamn AI. Okay. Oh shit. Now I have to retype it because I copied and pasted the wrong thing. Can water bears survive in space without desiccating? So I don't trust AI as far as I can, I don't know, program it. Okay, yes. They're tiny invertebrates can endure low pressure, intense radiation, and temperature extremes, making them the first animals known to be able to survive in space without desiccating. So they can survive even longer through desiccating. So I
Yes.
was wrong on that. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Extremophilic because they are not adapted to exploit many of the extreme conditions. Okay. They can merely endure them. So they can't. So their survival is limited. So yeah.
Yeah.
How big are they? How big are bear bears? I know they're tiny, 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 tiny.
They are small. But
One
we
millimeter or less.
there's no accounting for what can actually be out there. I mean, we know
Yeah.
about 4% of what's in our universe,
Yeah.
which is a very small amount. So there
Biggest
could
one they've found is 1.5 millimeter, and the smaller is less than zero point 0.1 millimeter.
so there could be bigger tardigrades out there in space. We don't
Yeah,
know.
without, like you said, the effects of gravity weighing on them. It's like how we don't have giant spiders because their exoskeleton can't support the weight.
Mm-hmm.
So when they get a certain size, they would collapse upon themselves.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was mistaken. So yes, they can survive in space. So this
There you go.
pregnant tardigrade is looking for a place to lay the eggs.
Yeah. And she finds a nice warm place on the Enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately for her, there's also a very persistent dot that wants to make sure that she does not lay her eggs anywhere. Actually, I don't think it even understands that she's alive, that she is more than just, a pest.
The dot recognizes her as an intruder, and I don't think
Yeah,
a non-life form would be referred to as an intruder.
that's true.
So
Yeah, it does scan her, and it does it tells Dot that it's a tardigrade.
yeah.
But at the same time, it's just like, why are you trying to? It's like it doesn't belong on the ship, so I'm going to get rid of it. It's weird
Well,
programming.
yeah. I think any kind of possible, kind of whatever word you want to, infection, something like that, anything that would be unsafe for the
Hmm.
crew should be eliminated. You don't know. if this tardigrade carries any kind of diseases. It is fun when the Enterprise just shows up next to this asteroid and collides with it. You see the deflection dish.
Yep, the deflector dish just boom, just
Yep.
boom right there. Poor Dot, or not poor Dot, rather, poor Ephraim. She was just getting ready to lay some eggs. But
Yeah.
honestly, the Enterprise is a much better choice because a cold asteroid probably isn't as conducive to birth as a
Right.
nice warm warp core.
Yeah. Just fun. Trying to dig through the panels of the ship, looking through the window, seeing Khan there.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, the sizing was odd until you see the dot next to the tardigrade,
Hmm.
Ephraim. Which is weird because isn't Ephraim like a male name? Doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Um,
I mean,
but
we
yeah,
have Michael Burnham. Isn't Michael a
that's
guy's name?
true. Yeah.
Who
Wasn't
cares?
the yeah. You get a little sense of the size when looking through the window. You're like, well, that's a bigger tardigrade than I would expect.
Mm,
Um, yeah, lots of references in this, but yeah, a lot of it is very Looney Tunes kind of cat and mouse. It's the when we studied improv, it was the whole thing about having a want and
hmm.
having your scene partner prevent you from achieving that want
Yes.
is somebody who wants to get into a nightclub and the bouncer outside that's not letting them and all the different tricks of the trade that you go through to try to sneak past, to lie, to bribe, to disguise, to fool, to charm, all these different ways to get inside. And so you get a little bit of this back and forth. Actually, a lot of this back and forth of being, entering the ship, being kicked out, entering the ship, being kicked out, and it gets kind of violent sometimes, the fight between Ephraim and Dot.
Mm, yeah.
Dot's kind of rough with this poor tardigrade.
Yeah, and it starts to get a little uncomfortable about two-thirds of the way through.
Yeah, when, grabbing the tardigrade by the tail and slamming it like the Hulk did with Loki,
Hmm.
just kind of smashing against the floor. It's like, this is a little much.
Yeah, but again, the dot is programmed to repel intruders in addition to whatever else
Mhm.
it's programmed to
And
do.
tardigrades are pretty resilient, but still,
Yeah,
it's unpleasant.
it is. It's done in a very cartoony, comical way,
Well,
but
yeah, it's got
it
like
doesn't
itchy and
feel like
scratchy
it.
kind of vibe, like
Yeah.
Tom and Jerry stuff. That you know,
Yeah, but
just
it that particular part didn't work for me because it
no,
just seemed cruel and painful. It's like this is a mother trying to protect her unborn children.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Well, and then it's the dot trying to protect the ship,
mhm,
from possible intrusion.
yeah.
Which is another odd thing because the dots, that's another like discovery invention because we don't really get them in any Star Trek beforehand, but if they existed on the Discovery, then they must have existed on other Starfleet vessels during that era, which would include the Enterprise. So it kind of
No,
makes sense that the Enterprise would have dots on them, but we've never seen them before now in this episode.
yeah. We don't really see dots on Discovery until season 3, though.
Right, which is
So,
probably around the time this short treks was released.
mm,
Because dots were a recent thing, and then they show up in this
mhm.
episode, this short treks.
And then they kind of forget that dots exist for a while, and then you see them again in season 4.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah, and
oh
then
wait, we have dots.
see them. I think we see them in Strange New Worlds doing like repairs and stuff like that. And it
Yeah.
makes sense that you'd have that because, previously it's always been like manual labor, people outside the ship doing repairs. And it's like, well, why don't we automate that? That seems to
Hmm.
make more sense. But,
Yeah.
droids have always been more of a Star Wars thing. So I think Star Trek's kind of avoided using droids and, the classic, original series stuff, robots aren't to be trusted because, technology can make mistakes and are easily fooled or confused or misjudging things because they don't have that human instinct. And
Well, and it
so
also
why would
depends
you
on how
trust
they're,
dots? Yeah,
yeah.
they're
Is
programmed. Yeah.
yeah.
But Discovery is different because we have Zora, we have the dots, there's a different kind of appreciation with for technology because I think the audience and the writers have grown up with technology in a
Mm,
different way, where
yeah.
there's a greater comfort, a greater understanding of technology, even though AI can still be a dangerous thing.
Yeah. Anyway, basically, one thing that was wrong with this short trek from the beginning, and it has never been fixed, is it had the registry number of the Enterprise as NCC 1701A. And as we all know, the A didn't exist until the end of the movie Star Trek for the Voyage Home, the one with the whales.
Yeah, because when we see it, I believe it was taking place during Search for Spock when the Enterprise gets destroyed
Yeah, see, and that's the thing.
over.
That's where the Star Trek references really stop.
Yeah.
Is that scene where you see the Enterprise, the saucer section being completely blown off, and just
Uh-huh.
the rest of it, crashing into the planet.
Yep. Yeah, and you clearly see the A.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's before the Enterprise is destroyed, so that's
Yeah,
very odd.
yeah, that was a big boo boo,
Yeah. And you'd
and
think they would have gone in
fix
and
that.
scrubbed it and fixed it, but
Yeah,
no, the one that's still on streaming services still has the A.
yeah. But before that happens, thankfully, the Dot realizes that the eggs are life forms. And we see the saucer section blow up, but we don't see Dot. And we see Ephraim just dying inside because all of her babies are dead. But no, here comes Dot floating
Well, you
through, one
get a
arm
little bit
missing.
of foreshadowing because you see the cracked eggs around
Mm-hmm.
her. And so you get this, well, if they survived, if these cracked eggs survived, like the shells of them, what else survived? And of course, that's when Dot shows up with little tardigrade babies inside its little tummy. It's this
Mm-hmm.
little warming center, this core inside this robot.
You're so cute.
Because yeah, after tossing out Ephraim for what, the fourth, fifth time,
Seventh time, 100th time, who
seventh, yeah,
knows?
it's so often. It's probably worse than Crimson Tide with how often it goes back and forth with who's in control. Uh, People love that movie, but I struggle with it because of this seesaw back and forth. Who's in control of the submarine? Who's not? It goes on too long. It's like,
I hate that movie.
how often do you have to switch back and forth?
I did not like
Tarantino
Crimson
did
Tide at all.
the script doctor on that, and it has a Star Trek reference in it. It's Denzel Washington.
Funny.
Ever see Star Trek? Um, But
Nope.
yeah, after tossing the tardigrade out for who knows what time, Dot looks around. It's about to self-destruct. The ship's about to self-destruct, and Dot notices the eggs being left behind, and yeah, collects them and leaves the vessel before it blows up. It, Somehow those life forms were okay, and Ephraim wasn't. Yeah, it's weird the realization, is like I don't see the math of it when there's so much like violence and so much insistence that Ephraim couldn't be on board, but as soon as the babies are there, it seems to change everything. I don't know what kind of programming would have the Dot
I I
reconsider.
I think that the Dot realized that this was the reason that Ephraim was on board.
Oh, so not a threat. It was more
Mm-hmm.
for just the babies.
Yep.
And so, yeah, the tardigrade wasn't going to be any other concern other than just giving birth and then moving on,
Yep.
possibly.
And so it made its corrections in its error of judgment, saved the babies,
Right.
and
That makes
Dot and Ephraim
sense.
lived happily ever after.
Yeah, kind of the threat protocol is okay, why is this thing here? And just assume it's for the worst and get rid of it. Oh, it's here for its babies. That's fine then. It's not here for any other reason. It's not
Yeah,
here to mess up the ship or anything. Okay, I can gel with that.
I'm
It's
glad I
just,
could help.
yeah, the math didn't kind of work out in my mind as I was watching it, going, okay, why is the change of heart? And it's like, oh, okay, the threat assessment was incorrect. The original threat assessment was incorrect
Yep.
and had to adjust.
excuse me, I do appreciate that the whole warp sequences were basically Star Trek's greatest hits of the original
Yeah,
series.
I was about to mention that. Do we want to mention some of the references and also with Ephraim swimming through the warp bubble, you
Hmm.
know, that was kind of fun.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is Star Trek Discovery establishes that tardigrades can warp on their own. They can travel the mycelial network
Right.
without a ship. They don't need a ship.
Yep.
So, I should have written all of them down. I didn't. Sorry, guys.
Well, we can there's the was it the Volian web?
There's the Tholian Web. There's a great big
Volian
hand,
web.
giant Abraham Lincoln.
There's
Um,
of course Khan. There's shirtless Sulu,
mhm.
which would be from the was it is that the Naked Now or is that the
Yes,
okay, so that's the Naked Now. We had I
I think
think
that's
Wrath
what it
of
was from.
Khan because or was it Wrath of no, we definitely had
I
Search for Spock.
Yeah, I think we had the Reliant from Wrath of Khan.
Right. That's right, because the Reliant was there. Right.
Yeah, yep. So
So
it
there's quite
was.
a few references from the original series and the movies, just kind of a greatest hits. And all those like many years take place between a lot of them. So
Mhm,
if you think about that, uh, that the eggs can persist for so many years, is this has been an ongoing battle between Ephraim and Dot for years.
mhm.
And it kind of blows your mind is how long this back and forth trying to get to the eggs has taken place.
Yeah, it's a mind fuck. I can't. I don't
Yeah.
want to think about it.
I don't even know for how long a tardigrade lives.
I don't know either, but
How long do bears live? But again, we're talking about a space one.
mhm.
Water bears can live for up to 30 years without food or water.
Well, there you go. They can live without food or
Uh,
water for 30 years. What if they have food and water?
In normal conditions, average healthy tardigrade lives for nearly 3 years if it has enough food or water. So if they desiccate, they can live for a long ass time, but they don't do anything really.
Mm.
But if they're active, they can live about 3 years.
Well, I would guess that if they enlarged the tardigrades, that they would also give them a longer lifespan. Otherwise, they wouldn't have enough sample material to work with. That sounds
Yeah.
so,
Well,
what's the word I'm looking for here?
here's something
Sterile.
else to consider is the larger and more complex an organism is, the weaker it is to radiation.
Mm,
So part of why tardigrades are so resistant to radiation is their small size. It's the same thing with cockroaches. Cockroaches are very simple creatures and they're very small, and so radiation doesn't have much of an effect on them. Meanwhile, humans are super complex, and so if we get radiation inside our body, it will fuck us up.
yep. And to think that we still do that in order to try to stave off cancer.
Yep. Yeah, directing it in a certain fashion, but something like the Radium Girls, where they were, painting the what the hands on watches in radioactive material so it would glow, and their employers didn't tell them how dangerous radium was, and
Of course
so,
they didn't.
of course, they'd lick the tip of the paintbrush to make a fine enough point that they could paint and ingest radium, and yeah, it would tear them up.
Yeah.
There's, I think, a morbid and my favorite murder episode, both about the Radium Girls.
Well, they're just female. Who cares, right?
Yeah, that's really it. Yeah, and even when
Yeah.
they knew, they still didn't tell them.
Yeah. They're lesser life forms.
And then,
So
of course, when it went to court that, this company had unsafe practices, that they blamed the women for, catching whatever other diseases than what they happened to have, which was radiation sickness. So,
you can't
yeah,
see me,
it's,
folks, but I'm flipping off all of those
yeah.
fuckers.
So, yeah, the music very much in line with the Looney Tunes kind of cartoon, which makes
Hmm.
sense. Had a couple of refrains that were Star Trek. There's kind of the Star Trek fight theme that
Hmm.
we're all familiar with. There's something close to that at one moment.
Yep.
Yeah. Anything else to talk about this particular episode? Oh yeah, there was the that big space weapon thing, the whatever that was called, the one that looks, like a cornucopia.
Oh yeah, the oh my God, it's the planet killer. But
The
what was it
planet
called?
killer, right.
Um
Yeah.
God, it scares me. It scares me. And I'll tell you the truth. I love that the a lot of the visuals were updated by the Okudas. But that's one that I feel was a downgrade. It didn't
Right.
seem as scary to me anymore.
Yes.
But yeah, basically it was a weapon to that these two species, two planets were warring, and this one of them built this weapon so that even if they got destroyed, this planet killer would kill their planet, and then it just kept going.
Mm-hmm.
It just kept going, looking for fuel,
Yep.
looking for
So
something to eat.
yeah, happens when you build a weapon like that.
Yeah. That episode is freaky as fuck. Still, just
It's
like the
like
devil in the dark is still freaky as fuck.
when there were plans to create a kind of military robot that would subsist off plant material and so could be self-sustaining. And people were like, maybe we shouldn't make these.
Yeah, let's not do that. Let's
Maybe
not
we
do
shouldn't
that.
make a self-sustaining killer robot.
Well, it all goes back to, just because you can, that doesn't mean you should.
Right.
And that is especially true for technology and
Mm-hmm.
biology.
Yeah,
Just because you can bioengineer something doesn't mean you should.
exactly.
So, yeah. Okay. So, do you have anything else to say about Ephraim and Dot?
Oh, I don't think so. There's a little bit of animated credits, like the title when
Mm-hmm.
you had Ephraim and Dot, and you had kind of the names of each of the character kind of animated in a manner similar to the characters themselves,
Mm-hmm.
kind of as a prelude to the episode, kind of setting the tone for what you're about to watch.
Yeah. And it was nice that they got Kirk Thatcher.
Yeah.
So, overall, I mean, I like this one, but it also hurts me.
Yeah. It's tonally odd
Mm-hmm.
because there's some cute, adorable stuff, and then there's like some violence that seems strange,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and I think the references are fun. I think that's like
Oh, yeah.
the highlight of it is getting to experience little bits of the original series and the films through
Yes.
time. But it also kind of twists your mind too, because you're going, okay, there's years that take place after, between these events.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But they do clarify that it can take years for these eggs to hatch. So,
right. Yeah.
and since tardigrades can travel through warp.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, that's Ephraim and Dot.
Yep. Yeah.
And it was, I think, the last short trek that was, where was it?
No,
Now I have to look up
think
season two.
I think some ones came after it.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Didn't the one with Zora come after it? I don't know.
No, that was earlier.
It seems to me this would be one that would want to get in early and something to appeal to maybe a younger audience.
Yes, well, this was season two of the
Right.
short treks. And whereas Calypso, which is the one with Zora in it, was episode two of season one of
Wow,
short
that
treks.
early. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, it was the second one.
That's bold to put that one that early.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. So
interesting.
this is actually, Ephraim and Dot is the fourth of six in season two. And
Okay,
the final
so
one
near
in
the end.
season two. Because episode five is The Girl Who Made the Stars. And then
Right.
episode six leads directly into Star Trek Picard, which was coming out shortly after, which is Children of Mars.
Right.
So
Okay.
yeah. And there you go.
Huh. Mm.
So I'm still sad that they have not done any more short treks because I feel like
Yeah.
there's a wealth of things you can explore with this short form.
Yeah, it seems like they might be done with it because you'd think they would have made more by now
Oh yeah.
if they had intended to.
Yeah.
And with Discovery gone now, and it seemed to be tied a lot to Discovery. If Discovery's canceled, so is Short Treks. Like they're one and the
Mm-hmm.
same because yeah, they did some short treks for Strange New Worlds in a way too.
Yeah, they were
But
in season
yeah,
two.
but only insofar as I guess it crossed over with Discovery.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah.
think short treks might be a thing of the past now on,
Well, I'm
which is too
sure they
bad.
are because it's been several years since they've made any, but I'm just saying I wish they would make more
Mhm.
because I think that that there are things that they could explore that wouldn't necessarily need a full episode. They could do it in short form like
Yeah, I
this.
don't think Paramount understands the property of Star Trek that they
Oh,
have
they do not.
available to them
They
and
do
the
not.
things. Because if you look at what Disney's doing with Marvel,
Hmm.
is you've got animated series, you've got their TV series, you've got the movies, as they pretty much know what they're doing. And yeah, there's been some Marvel fatigue, and the recent era of Marvel movies hasn't been the best. I mean, there's some there I like. I really like the Marvels,
Hmm.
but and some of their television series, they're hit and miss. Like Secret Invasion, I absolutely hated.
Secret Invasion, I'm sorry to say, was boring.
It it need Secret Invasion is a story that needs to be big,
Hmm. It's not
but
something
but it
that
was
you do in a
super
series.
small because you had Nick Fury and a few rebellious Skrull working with him, and that was it.
Hmm.
It's like Secret Invasion is like a global thing, and they infiltrated everywhere.
Hmm.
It should have been how Hydra was,
Yeah.
you know, with the Captain America series. And you think Nick Fury would learn his lesson once with the Hydra thing,
Oh,
and
you're
to have the
right.
same thing happen again with the scroll?
Hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, there are elements of Secret Invasion I liked, but it was just wrong, and
Yeah.
even the AI opening credit sequence
Ugh, terrible.
wrong.
Terrible, terrible. Didn't like it at all. Yeah, we'll just forget that exists. But this is not a Marvel podcast. This is a Star Trek
Yeah,
podcast.
it's just saying, if somebody had with a better appreciation of what they had available to them, but there there used to be like in the golden era of Hollywood that the studio heads had an understanding of legacy,
Mm,
that the movies that they were making could last for time, the test of time, and that they were making stuff that would be enjoyed further on. Today it's about profit margins and how much they can make at the box office and the weekend, and movies don't stay in theaters very long because it's like, okay, make that box office and then on to streaming.
mm-hmm.
And there's really not much care for movies to stand the test of time. There's not much interest in any of that. So, all that legacy stuff, because all the producers are shuffling around anyway. There's no pride in studio, and that's the case with Paramount too. I don't think Paramount's ever been really fond of owning Star Trek, which is weird because why do they? Why not just sell the property off to somebody who will
Well, they
handle it
did.
better?
They did.
Ah,
And then they came back together
right.
because it was in CBS's hands for
Well, isn't
a long time.
CBS a Paramount subsidiary?
No,
Kind
it
of like
wasn't. They
how
they had
ABC.
okay,
Okay,
think of them like a married couple, okay?
right.
Paramount and CBS. They had a terrible fight and they
Right.
got divorced. And
Ah,
they were divorced for many years. And then
right.
Paramount decided, hey, I miss you. I
Uh-huh.
want to come home.
Right.
Probably what they needed was money.
Yeah, and now Paramount's struggling again. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's just too bad because
Yeah.
yeah, somebody who understood the significance of Star Trek and what you could do with it,
Mm-hmm.
uh, they wouldn't just cancel things that really could go on for longer. I mean, what would a sixth season of Discovery been? Who knows what they would have done.
Well, and that was the beauty of Discovery is once they got into the future, they could tell stories that they've never told before.
Yep.
There was so much available to them.
I
And
wonder what Starfleet Academy will be, if it will have a feel like a sixth season Discovery kind of in a way, because it's
well,
it's gonna have Tilly in it, so
and it's going to have Admiral Vance in it.
yeah, and you wonder how many other characters might show up.
Mm-hmm.
Will we get a Stamets every once in a while?
Could be.
Will we get a Colbert?
Yeah. So, yeah, it's just frustrating when the studios these days don't care about quality. They only care about profit.
Yeah. Well,
And
yeah.
they don't care who they have to step on to get it. They don't care if they make a substandard movie. They don't care if they put people out of work.
Well, yeah, that's an AI thing again, is wanting to use digital recreations of actors, wanting to use actors' voices, and just for all eternity without paying the actor ever
No,
again.
nope,
um, to use AI generated scripts and
nope.
thinking that AI is just going to be this machine that prints money. The thing is, the people that create AI, like ChatGPT, they pretty much admitted that if they had to pay for as much material as AI uses to formulate scripts and images and music and stuff like that, they would go bankrupt because it's a plagiarizing machine.
Hmm.
And it's weird that these companies that are so hard on people using their copyrighted material have no problem using other people's copyrighted material to do
Oh,
whatever
of
they want.
course. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what AI does.
Yeah.
It's using other people's copyrighted material without
Hmm.
paying them.
Yeah.
It's thievery. It's thievery.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not even often correct because it proves things and it doesn't understand what's real and what's not, and
Yeah.
it creates these ghastly images that are right there on the uncanny valley, portraits of families and babies have like three arms.
Yeah. And how quickly do they all turn to bigots?
Yeah, when
So
they
many
had the
AIs.
two social media chat bots that were talking to each other, and I think within days they were slinging racial slurs at one another.
Hmm. Okay, this is taking a depressing turn.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it anymore.
No.
So yay, Ephraim and Dot.
Ephraim and Dot, it's charming in places, tonally odd in others, like the references.
It's beautifully
This,
animated.
yeah, the score is a bit much, but that's typical for animation.
Hmm.
Um,
That
yeah,
was
that's
definitely
why I'm
geared
not,
towards a younger audience.
yeah, big on Doctor Who's because I think the score is often overwhelming. I could
Always
use a little
overwhelming.
less of it.
Always.
It's like the score should be subtle and not call attention to itself, and I
When
find
it's
it,
when it's
yeah,
drowning out dialogue, that's a
yeah,
problem.
yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, an all right episode of Short Treks. Not one of my favorites, but it's all right. Okay.
Yeah. I like this one, but at the same time, the whole thing with Dot fighting with Ephraim is hard on me
Yeah. Yeah,
because
it's rough.
my empathy is always turned up to 1,000, and I'm just like, why can't you just leave her alone? She's just
Yeah.
trying to have her
Yeah.
babies. Why won't you understand that? Eventually Dot does, but anyway. So
Right.
okay, well then it comes to the most exciting part of the show,
Oh
which
boy.
is finding out what we're going to do 2 weeks hence.
I'll try to remember the number this time.
Well, I'm actually here to write it down.
Oh, there you go.
So let me get to the sheet of spread. That's the calendar, Brandy,
Holy
not the
sheet.
spreadsheet. Holy sheet. All right, so here we go. Still at 900 and yeah, 944. Okay. Alexa, give me a number between 1 and 944.
Here's a number between 1 and 944. It's 390.
390.
Wow.
That is definitely old Trek.
Oh, isn't that new Trek 390?
390 is old Trek, babe.
I thought the earlier episodes would be the older episodes. Like,
What are you talking about?
okay, I am so confused now. So 390 seems like it would be new Trek.
Honey, New Trek doesn't start in 1995.
Okay.
I'm talking about after Enterprise is New Trek.
Right. Okay. So
Okay, so
390.
390 is going to be probably Voyager or Deep Space Nine. 390. Keep overshooting. My gosh. 390 is actually it's Voyager season
Okay. Back to
2 episode.
Voyager.
Yeah, episode 2, or excuse me, season 2 episode 11, maneuvers.
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 All right. So back to Voyager again.
Again,
There is a lot of
maneuvers.
Voyager, so that makes sense because it was on for a good while.
Yeah, it had 7 full seasons, just like Deep Space Nine, just like Next Generation.
And not these short seasons either, like 26 episode seasons.
Yep, That's
So
what we did back then. I don't know how they kept up with that level of production, and I think
that's
that
how you
they
end up
worked.
with filler
Yeah.
episodes.
Yeah, I feel like fewer episodes with greater quality is the way to go, but that's just
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
So,
But there's more opportunities for character-based stories, so there's that too, where it's not
yeah.
everything as plot oriented.
Yes. So let me tell you the next time that we're going to just so you know for the future where that transition is between old Trek, new Trek.
So in the,
And that happens with Discovery. Well, technically Star Trek Into Darkness and Star Trek Beyond are really what
okay,
starts it.
so
And
the
that
start of the
starts in,
Kelvin.
yeah, so it's basically 700s, 727
Oh
on.
God, my brain. I was thinking 400 to stuff 900.
No,
Yeah, we have nearly 1,000 episodes of Star Trek, and so that's why 390 seemed late. Is because I was for some reason I was thinking 400 in my brain.
no.
So 390
So,
is well within the first half.
yeah,
So
there you
yeah,
go.
that's my bad. It was confusing how many episodes there were. I don't know
Well,
why
when
that
I
was. I
said
had a
when
brain
I
short
said
circuit.
yeah, because I said to the device a number between 1 and
I can't explain a
944.
brain short circuit. They just happen.
I know. I'm sorry, baby.
It's
It's
like I just
okay.
confused 900 and 400 is all.
You were fixated on the 4.
I think so. I think the 940 thing is what
Well,
threw me
actually,
off.
no,
And
it was 390.
yeah, it's
Well,
390 by out of
944. Yeah,
944. So
yeah,
that double four, I think, threw me off.
right, fair.
So yeah, so 390, yeah, that's not even close to New Trek.
Mm-hmm. All right, so 2 weeks hence, Voyager again.
Maneuvers, season two.
Maneuvers. Yes, season 2, episode 11.
All right.
All right. Well, it's been fun. My throat hurts, so we're gonna
Yep.
go.
All right. Sounds good. You're tired anyway. So am I.
I
I worked basically an extra week this 2 weeks, so
yeah, he's been working overtime.
yeah,
He's
I
tired too.
worked entire 40 hours of overtime, so
Yeah. Plus the fucking PlayStation Network is down and they're
yeah,
still
it
not
sucks.
talking about why that happened, which makes me
Yeah.
think cyber attack.
Yep.
And people think, oh, well, you just can't play online. No, you can't play anything. Even
Right.
stuff that's installed on your hard drive, you can't play because it has to verify the license by going online. And the
There we go with the
PlayStation
copyright
Network
again.
doesn't exist.
It's like I bought this game. Why do you have to verify the license? I fucking bought this game. God damn it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I haven't
That's why
checked
people
on
are moving towards physical media again,
well, see,
because
that's the
digital media
thing.
can't be trusted.
The thing though is even if I were to put in something that had a disc with it, I bet it would
Oh,
still try to verify the license online.
right. To
I
see
could
if you
test that theory.
actually bought it.
Yeah, I could
That's
test that theory,
disappointing.
but
Yeah.
yeah, and there's been no news as to why. There's been no news as to how long.
Right.
So basically that's why I think it's a cyber attack. And here's the thing, no news is way worse than just telling us what happened.
Yeah, because yeah, telling us what would happen, at least inform us, but the fact that not is like, who knows what's going on.
Yeah. So at least I have my trusty Xbox. I can go back to Stardew Valley, bitches.
Yeah, I've got Marvel Snap.
Romance my goth boy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna marry that goth boy.
Are you?
I am. I'm
Cool.
romancing him so I can marry him. You can marry people in Stardew Valley.
Nice.
Not everybody is
You're gonna
romanceable, but
go into your cave and look at the bats together?
yes, we can do that.
Right.
And we can look at the stars. And also he
Nice.
can take me for a ride on his motorcycle.
Oh, he has a
And
motorcycle?
yeah.
Is he the crow
No.
from the television series? Mark
He's actually
Dacascos?
he's a programmer.
Oh, okay.
he does programming.
That's programming.
He spends
This
a lot of time on his
your
computer.
farming simulator. You're dating a goth programming
Yeah.
boy.
Yes, I am. And shut the fuck up
Okay.
about
All right.
it. All right, guys. We'll see you in 2 weeks. And take care of yourselves. Lives long and prosper. And lives long.
Lives
Live
long
and proper.
and prospers.
Lives long. Live long and
What she's
progress.
trying to say.
Just yeah.
Progress.
Love you guys. Okay, bye.
Yeah.